When I was in Ottawa recently, I bumped into Norman Traversy on Parliament Hill. He's the private citizen and former firefighter who is attempting to file what's called a private prosecution against Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. This was over the SNC-Lavalin affair. That's a rare legal procedure when someone other than a Crown prosecutor uses the criminal code to go to court to sue someone for a crime. It's the ultimate long shot, really, and Traversy isn't a lawyer himself. So far, the case has not succeeded, and if I'm going to be candid here, I gotta be honest, I don't think it will. We know that Trudeau has broken laws as Prime Minister. He has repeatedly broken the Conflict of Interest Act, the first sitting Prime Minister to ever be convicted of that, but police have declined to charge him with a crime. Private prosecutions are essentially a Hail Mary pass, wishful thinking by frustrated Conservatives in the face of liberal corruption. But Traversy told me about his efforts, and I thought they were interesting enough to present them to you for your own consideration. All right, so Norman, when I was last in Ottawa and came across you, it was also with the Caledonian Crusader, Gary McHale, and he was pursuing a private prosecution of Justin Trudeau. Can you quickly give us a recap about what that private prosecution was?
Yes, hi David. Last August, I saw a video clip of Brenda Lucki, who is the commissioner of the RCMP, and I saw her saluting in full dress uniform, and Justin Trudeau walking up to her, giving her a big hug and a kiss on both cheeks. And I thought, what contempt this man has for that person and for the position she holds, that he thinks he can do that. Well, that was the last straw for me. Next day, I went to the Ottawa courthouse and filed a private prosecution against Justin Trudeau for obstruction of justice and for conspiracy to obstruct justice in the SNC-Lavalin affair.
And Norm, very quickly, what exactly, for those in our audience that don't know what a private prosecution is, what exactly is it?
Private prosecution goes back to the Magna Carta in the 13th century. And it's the right of every individual to lay criminal charges if the police or the authorities don't do it. And it was brought into effect at a time when they didn't have police. So the ordinary citizens were expected to police themselves. In 2002, private prosecution was codified into the Criminal Code of Canada, Section 507 of the Criminal Code. So what I was doing was not a prank. It was completely legit. I do believe Justin Trudeau and others obstructed justice, and so I filed.
And certainly Gary McHale got involved with the case, and Gary McHale has taken on numerous heavyweights with private prosecutions. He's been quite successful in many of those cases. However, when we came to see you and Mr. McHale at that Ottawa courthouse, things didn't go as planned, did it?
No. My first pre-enquête hearing, and a pre-enquête hearing is when a judge or a JP decides that you are legit, that your evidence is sufficient to go ahead with prosecution. And so you go produce your evidence, tell your story, and then it's decided. And usually what would happen is the Crown takes over. Up until that point, you are the Crown. You have all the authority of a police officer and cannot be obstructed. So my first one was September 4th. I showed up with Gary McHale. I paid for him to come from his home, a long drive. And we were told, oh, the judge is sick. And no other judges in the Ottawa courthouse, obviously. And then it was scheduled for October 7th. We showed up at 9 o'clock for a 9:30 hearing at room 14 of the Ottawa courthouse. The door was locked. I politely knocked. stayed locked. We stood outside that door until after 10 o'clock. And I was knocking every couple of minutes, politely knocking, and that door stayed locked. Now, afterwards, I obtained a transcript of what had happened, and it stated that the hearing started at 9:31. At 9:31, I was knocking on the door. They kept the door locked. They had the hearing without me. I had Gary McHale standing right next to me, and they stated that my private prosecution did not meet the McHale standard. He's actually got a standard named after him. And I had McHale standing next to me. And they
But you're telling me they wouldn't open the door and let you into a court that was hearing your own matter?
That's exactly what happened. They locked me out of the court and then stayed it for lack of evidence. So
well, I've never heard of such a thing. And then I guess there was one more kick at the can later that month in October, wasn't there?
Yes, that's when you showed up with, and Gary McHale showed up.
Yeah.
And now Gary has gone to the divisional court requesting a judicial review and writ of mandamus, which means the higher court tells the lower court to do their job. And I then appealed to the federal court for being locked out. I found out a couple of weeks ago, I got a letter stating that they don't have jurisdiction, which I think is a lie. And now I am going to the divisional court, which is the lower court, and I'm going to do the same thing that Gary has done, request a judicial review and writ of mandamus. I'm not giving up on this. I've got several high-level politicians interested in this. It's all documented. And I will be going to the Elections Canada Director of Investigations, because if I had been allowed in that courtroom, I had over 200 documents, documentary evidence, and I had 10 hours of audio tape of phone calls.
And this is all pertaining to the SNC-Lavalin affair?
Yeah, and this would have gone ahead, and then it would have changed the election.
Do you really think so?
Yes.
And I only say that, Norman, because, I mean, for goodness gracious, there were so many scandals from SNC-Lavalin, that what we know about it in the popular press, to the India fiasco, blackface, groping, you name it. I'm just wondering if it would have amounted to the proverbial hill of beans.
I don't think so. I think it would have been picked up by the press, a lot of negative publicity, and I think it would have changed thousands of votes.
So just one last question then, Norman. As we move forward in 2020, I guess your resolution is that you are going to, like a dog with a bone, if you will, you're going to stay with this. You're not taking no for an answer. You're not taking a locked door for an answer in a courtroom.
You're not locking me out of my own courtroom. You're
going to pursue this and try to get some measure of justice as a one-man gang, if you will, regarding the Prime Minister and the SNC-Lavalin affair. I
owe it to the people of Canada. I'm a proud patriot, and no, I'm not going away. And if you want to read the documents or see more, please go to my website, which is justiceforcanada.ca.
Well, there you have it, folks. Norman Traversy, being a former firefighter himself, he's not hesitant to get into a heated environment, and I would say he's got his work cut out for him as 2020 advances. Let's wish him the best of luck so that justice on this file can indeed be served. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies.